Calvin, how much do you make at your corporate job? I was making like 400 grand a year. And she's like, okay, cool. How many hours a week do you spend in your corporate job? I was like, I don't know, 60, 70 hours a week, right? She's like, how many hours do you spend on that deal? And I was like, maybe 40 total? And she's like, okay, well, was that math into you? And I was like, yeah, you're right, it is, it's not.
Welcome back to another episode of Unleash Mindset. Today, you're in store for an incredible episode with my great friend, Calvin. Calvin, I've known for almost a decade, and he'll share with you his journey of going from W-2 to being an entrepreneur, and today building a real estate empire that will wow the world. So, Calvin, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
To start off, I know your story. I've known you for a long time.
Yes,
You went
sir.
to my wedding.
Yeah.
You're doing such incredible things. Especially the last few years, it's so inspiring. Why don't you share with the viewers your beginning, childhood, upbringing, story, and journey, and also the future?
Yeah, well, we appreciate you having me on this episode, man. And I think a lot of your viewers probably have a similar background as myself. As my family always taught me to be, the American dream, right? It's like, hey, go get good grades in school, then go to a good college and get a good job and climb the corporate ladder, right? And that's what success was for us, right? And that was like what I thought would make me happy, I guess, if I did that. And so that's what I did, right? I got a great job in tech, right? And I thought I made it. But I realized that I didn't want to spend the rest of my life doing that, which was kind of crazy. I was like, oh man, am I going to do this for like the next 50 years of my life? And that made me really scared, right? And so, what we looked up, I just remember being burnt out one day. I was working like 65, 70-hour weeks. And we Googled, me and my wife, Jenny, how do I quit my job?
Wow.
Right? This is before ChatGPT, right? And
For sure.
real estate came up, Rich Dad Poor Dad, the book came up, all that stuff. And I was like, wow, this is really interesting. Like, I want to be a real estate investor. I want to get this passive income thing, right? And be able to quit my job. And then for the first year and a half, I didn't do anything. Like, I was stuck in that fear, that analysis paralysis, right? And I remember just being like, wow, we got to stop like talking about it. We got to actually go be about it, right? And so we're like, all right, let's just go find another flipper, right? And we live in San Francisco, and we'll give them money. And we did. We had our life savings at that point was about 100 grand, right? So we're like, hey, we'll give 100 grand to this flipper. That way, we can get into the game, right? And she basically took that money and ran, and we had no recourse. Never saw her again. That was like our first foray into real estate, and an absolute gut punch, right? I wanted to quit real estate and just work my job, right? And my wife, you would talk to her later, but she's amazing. She's like, yeah, like this absolutely sucks, but this is a learning lesson that we got to make sure that we never make the same mistake ever again, right? And I was like, sure, right? Yeah, happy life, happy wife, I guess, right? And that's what we did.
Good man.
Yeah.
Knew it early in the start.
Early on, yeah, we were just dating at that time, and thankfully was able to recover from that, and did buy our first investment property in Dallas, Texas, all out of state, right? Because we live in California. And just kept on scaling, made a lot of mistakes along the way, but learned from them, right? Got more confident, got more creative with deals. Now we've scaled our portfolio over the last 8-9 years. I think we have like 1,100 units at this point across 7 different states.
Let's slow down right there. 1,100 units in the last 8 years. Please continue.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people think like, oh, cool, like you're buying like 200 units a year, right? No, I mean it starts off really slow, right? It was like 1 unit the first year, then two doors the next, and then 5, then 8, then 20, then 50, then 100, and so you get more confident doing bigger deals. And I was always scared in the beginning. I was doing single family homes. They were doing like flips and burrs and stuff like that, and eventually we're like, okay, well, what's worth my time, right? My time doing a burr project, which is a buy, rehab, rent, then refinance it, basically pull all your money back out kind of thing and recycle your capital type of deal, was awesome. But like at the end of it, you weren't getting that much cash flow, right? And so we were like, okay, well, how many of these types of deals are we going to have to do to be able to get to a number that we want to be able to not only replace our W-2 income, but then live abundantly as well and focus on things that matter to us, right? And we're like, that the only way to do it is by doing bigger deals, right? So that's why we made the jump to bigger, and that's when we started scaling a lot too.
Great.
Yeah.
And you said a lot of things that I think most people may not know how to recover from. Your first deal where you and Jenny took your life savings, invested 100,000, and for many people that are watching, 100,000 is a lot of money. And when you invest it all to the investor that you made, and it didn't work out, how do you recover from that? Most people would just completely give up on that project and never touch this asset class again.
Yeah.
Why did you change your mindset, and how did you get back up from that failing moment?
Yeah, I think the number one, and we had a lot of mentors around us at that point, which was great, right? And the number one thing that I had noticed from all the people that were 5-10 years ahead of us was one trait, and that was resilience. Everyone that you talk to that has been, successful in some aspect of life, they have all had the same kind of story, right? This is just one of our stories. We have many of these failures, right? But these failures were never failures because we never quit, right? We learned from them. There's always a way to recover. There's always a way to figure out how to do it. You just got to be able to be in the right state of mind to do it, and know that as long as you don't quit, you can do it, right? And that's what we did, right? And it worked out, right? I would never take that experience back, and I could even tell this story on podcasts like this and not cry or punch a wall anymore, because I look back at it now and it's this mindset of abundance where it's like that was meant to happen for us. We had to have had that happen to us for us to be the human beings that we are today, to be the investors that we are today too.
Yep. It was the lessons learned. It's pre-written in your course of life and journey, so that today you can make better, wiser decisions and do your due diligence.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And nowadays, the learning lesson there is like, okay, you got to make sure you have the right contracts in place. And then it also taught us a lot about human beings and people, right? You got to make sure that whoever you're partnering with, they fit into your core values. I always say it's like two things. One, any kind of partner that you have, you want to make sure they have the same morals and ethics that you do. But two, then then if they pass that checkbox, then it's the credibility. Okay, do they have excellence, a track record of excellence? Can they fit the things that you need that person to fit? Right? Jenny and I actually created this. We call it the Kaizen Codex, but really what it is, it's a family investment guide, where it's like 11 different rules.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, and we have to, in any investment that we do, it has to check box every single one of them. And we have different buckets, right? We have growth bucket, which is like real estate or stocks or crypto or whatever it is, businesses. We have our dream bucket, which is fun stuff like a car like this, right? And then we have a security bucket, which is, hey, this is put it away from a rainy day, whole life cash insurance. That's protected, it's safe, right? And it's always there. So.
Wow. And you said earlier just about the fact that you guys are in San Francisco, one of the most expensive cities in the world.
Yeah.
So many people, when they want to get into real estate, unfortunately, their environment does not allow them to invest. What made you invest in Dallas, Texas, right? Because I think most people, they have analysis paralysis where they are unable to invest in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
One of your first deals was in a different complete state. Tell us about that story and lesson.
Yeah, so for us, it was like, okay, we're gonna get into real estate. We actually had a house hack in San Francisco at the time, but that basically took away all of our capital at that point, right?
Wow.
And our debt to income. And so we were like, okay, well, let's look at the long term. Like, what are we trying to optimize for, right? And if you're trying to optimize for cash flow, at that time I was trying to leave my job, so we were optimizing for cash flow. San Francisco was not cash flow market. It's an equity appreciation market that goes up and down a lot, right? And at that point, this was in 2016, I think, Dallas was still a reasonably cash flow market right back then.
Wow.
And also at that point, this is in 2016, I thought at that point, like, hey, there might be a recession soon. We've been on a pretty good market here for the last, 6-7 years, right? So it's like, okay, well, let's go find a place where I can kind of protect my capital too, and just kind of test it out. And through the research I looked at, for Dallas, for example, the median home price, even in 2008, 2009, was 0.01% difference, right? So it went down maybe by 0.04% and then went up by 0.01% in 08, 09, right? Every other market, look at Detroit, was like 30, 40%, right, down, right? And so I was like, all right, my cash will be protected here and will be treated well here no matter what. Stability, right? Because there's multiple, at that point, multiple different industries, right? A lot of population growth, a lot of job growth, right? This is before the big Texas boom in general. So yeah, it was just a place where I felt it fit my investment criteria at that point.
Great. And your background is tech. Then you, of course, got into real estate. The simple fact that you said you did your research, understood different asset classes in real estate, how to buy multifamily homes, then understand that, hey, certain properties have a certain larger exposure to downside, and Dallas, Texas, such a stable market. Where did you learn all this?
Yeah, so I mean, our mentors too, right? So I mean, best way to, I guess, go from point A to point B. I mean, you could do it yourself and fail a bunch. Trust me, we did that a lot, right? And we're like, hey, the best way to do it is learn by people that have done it before, and surround yourself with that person as much as possible. And just by osmosis, you are the 5 people that you surround yourself with, right? And so even if you don't understand what they're saying, even on this podcast, if I'm going too tactical, it's like, if you listen to it multiple times, or if you're around the environment multiple times, then that becomes new English to you, right? New language to you, right? And then once you get that, then you start to understand it more and more and more, right? Like who I am today versus who I was 10 years ago, totally different people, right? I forget the stat, don't quote me on this, but it's like you have no same cell in your body in 7 years.
Wow.
Right? So you're totally different as human beings. I mean, when I met you, 10 years ago when you were visiting San Francisco with Hannah, like that was a different person.
Yeah, you were.
Right? And same thing. I mean, like in your investing journey, you're just different people of what you want in that season, and then what you're looking for, and then how you can actually get it, because the different skill sets you have, the different teams and people that you've built around you, right? That all changes.
Yeah. And I remember over 10 years ago when we first met, you were always a very abundant, ambitious. You shared with me how you're growing in your corporate company.
Yeah.
But you were right. You got burnt out.
Yeah.
What caused you to take that shift? I think many people, although that are in their W-2 job, they're burnt out, but they just never have that moment to help them take action.
Yeah.
What moment caused you to finally break through and said, "Hey, I'm gonna bet on myself"?
I'm gonna give you 2 moments, right? So one was a more logical and analytical moment, and the other was more of an emotional moment, right? And so the analytical moment was we had just got into doing commercial projects, right? So my first multifamily, and I'll give you some quick numbers on it. We bought the deal, $1.1 million. It was in Alabama, and we probably put like maybe 60 grand of renovation on it, right? Got market rents from, I think they were getting like $600 to $1,000 in rent.
That's a great growth.
Great
over 50%.
growth. Over 50 in 6 months, right?
Wow.
And then I just did a burr on that one. I just refied it in 6 months, right? And pulled my money out, a new valuation of 1.7. So this is in 6 months, right? And so got all my original capital back out, and we made like, I don't know, like $500,000 of equity on it, right? In 6 months, right? And so Jenny, my wife, was like, "Hey, Calvin, how much do you make at your corporate job?" And fully transparently, like I was making like 400 grand a year. And she's like, "Okay, cool. How many hours a year or how many hours a week do you spend in your corporate job?" And I was like, "I don't know, 60, 70 hours a week, right?" And she's like, "How many hours do you spend on that deal?" And I was like, "Maybe 40 total." And she's like, "Okay, well, was that math into you?" And I was like, "Yeah, you're right. It is. It's not, right?" And so that was one piece of it. And I was like, all right, like financially, yeah, it made way more sense if I could spend my time and value my time more doing the things that bring me more joy, but also, more income, then why not focus on that? So that was the first step. That didn't bring me all the way, right? Because I would say my identity, right, was still so much a tech person.
Yes.
Right? Especially if you live in the Bay Area in San Francisco. I mean, people got their Patagonias, they says their company name on it, they're super proud to work at NVIDIA or Apple. Right? My brother-in-law works at Apple. He's so proud of it, he works at Apple, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, like I was still stuck in that identity. I thought that's why my parents were proud of me. I come from first generation roots as well, where it's like I thought stability was the thing that they craved and what my parents wanted for me and why they were proud of me. I had this comfy title, making good money in a good industry at that point, right? And really, I was afraid about, like, if I didn't have that identity, who would I be? Nothing.
Yeah.
Right? And so that was what I was trying to work through. And the crux in the road came from my company at that point. They wanted to promote me into more of a leadership role. And it's kind of funny. It's like, okay, cool, you want to promote me, but then in my mind, I was like, oh crap, like if I take that job, then I'm saying I'm committed to this corporate life, and then it's another 40 years of doing this, right? Versus say no and take that bet on yourself. And trust me, I'm a very conservative person. Like I was like so scared to like make that jump because you're like, no income's coming in. You got to work on your own stuff,
Yep.
right? And that's what they don't tell you about being an entrepreneur. Is like it takes the grit, right? It takes the grind of actually go doing it, and you have to be self-started. You have to know how to figure out how to use your time most efficiently, and your energy too. So kind of those two combined of like, okay, the logic of okay, you've proven it, you can do it, you can do all that in a smaller amount of time, and emotionally, like yeah, you could step into a new identity, right? If you want to, or else you're gonna be stuck in that old identity that you're gonna be stuck for the rest of your life in, and that kind of scared me more than anything else, of like the fear of I'm on my deathbed and I live a life of regret, right? I guess, it's like, why not take the shot now versus am I ever going to take the shot if I don't take it now?
Yeah.
So,
And you said earlier something really important, and we talk about this all the time, is having such a supportive partner.
yeah.
Yeah. Jenny said to you, hey, Calvin, very proud of your success, $400,000, but she believed in you more than you believed in yourself at that time, probably.
Yeah.
And let's talk about your parents.
Yeah.
Your parents, proud of you, much so. When you took the leap of faith to give up your W-2 stability job, like our parents work so hard
Yeah.
so that we can live a life of stability.
Yeah.
When you said, hey, I'm going to quit this corporate job and go into real estate investing, what was the reaction?
The original reaction was,
Hey, this could be rated R.
Yeah,
Tell everyone the truth.
The original reaction is, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I think that's any parent that looks at it on a 30,000 foot view of like, why would you do that? You built all this, so like, why would you do that? Right? And by any standard, 400 grand a year is not no money
great.
by any means, right? And that was it, right? And and I struggled with that identity too. I went to a bunch of masterminds and talked to my mentors and stuff. Like, I'm struggling with the fact that like my parents don't want me to do this, and I think that's what's holding me back too, right? And they're like, I remember the advice I got from one of my mentors. He's like, hey, Calvin, whose life is it yours or theirs?
Wow.
And I was like, you're absolutely right. And logically too, it's like, hey, why wouldn't they? Just prove it to them. They're trying to protect you, right? And they're maybe even coming on and their own insecurities about it, right? Of like, oh, maybe you can't do it. Because my dad was, really successful guy, but was a corporate guy his whole life, right? And nowadays, fast forward now my dad's like, oh yeah, I was totally supportive, and I'm super proud of you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
I told you to jump into it. That's exactly what our parents say when we make it.
Exactly.
I've been supportive the whole time.
Exactly. It took me like, I don't know, maybe 6 years for my dad to even invest in one of my deals.
Wow.
Yeah. And now he's like, cool, awesome. Let me know what the next one is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that definitely is a change. But again, it's just proving it out that you're capable of doing it.
Yep.
And honoring them thank you for protecting me. Right?
Yeah. Now that you are a parent yourself, I know you and Jenny just had Kaizen,
Yeah.
first child.
Yeah.
What did you learn in your journey from your parents as they were raising you? And what do you think you will be doing similarly for Kaizen, but also differently now that we have the experience we have in our generation?
Yeah, I always want to honor my parents because they did what they could, what they knew, right? And what I would always shout out to my parents on is they were always such rocks, no matter what. They were so stable. I knew that I could always count on them. I knew that I could always go back home if I needed to, right? They always honored they created a lot of family traditions that I've loved, right? Like just small things I never noticed when I was a kid, and they made us do, but now I'm like, oh, I love that, right? Like even like, we would eat dinner every night together. We had a little circle table, right? And we'd always eat dinner, no matter what.
Yep.
Weekday, weekend, it's like you're sitting here, we're going around, right? We always had these traditions around holidays, like Christmas, and when we're opening presents and what we're doing on those holidays, right? Like it's always the day after Thanksgiving. We're one of these families that day after Thanksgiving, we're gonna go get a tree, a Christmas tree, and decorate it. It was every year, right? And so, all that gave me as a human being was a lot of safety and security that I always knew I could have a family to rely on, and that was always just like so like I don't know, very like comforting for me to go out and like in the real world and take risks, right? What I would do differently, I wouldn't say it was wrong by their means, but they were doing what they knew was, and we talked about this earlier, was just the education, right? Like my dad was a finance guy. He never taught me anything about finance, right? And in the school systems that I was sent to, never taught anything about financial literacy and stuff. So, even for us, like that's a passion project of us, right? We started a nonprofit where we go and teach high schoolers and middle schoolers financial literacy, right? And then give them scholarships to support them. But like that's what I want more of. And we talked about this with Stephen Kaizen, my son, is what kind of schooling do we actually want him to go to? Like public school? I don't think so, to be honest. Like maybe a private school that is kind of more focused on like a new age of education, right? Because I think that's what's going to set them up for the future, right? Is like being able to understand stuff at a younger age, like how to balance a P&L, how to look at data, right? How to create an app, how to start a business, right? How to do people skills. Like that's in real life, the most important thing that someone can learn, but we're not teaching that in schools, because what they are teaching in schools is how to be good employees at this point. So that's the one thing I would probably change, is just where and how I would educate my kid.
Yep.
Yeah.
I talked to a friend recently, and we were discussing today's modern education versus when we were growing up
Yeah.
30 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think back then, we did not know that public school has only been around for like 2-3 decades.
Yeah.
2-3 generations.
Yeah.
2-3 generations.
Yeah.
It was started by, invested the most, the
Rockefeller, yeah.
Rockefellers. And truth is, he wanted to create a system where he can have more employees for his corporations.
Yeah.
And today, even some of the best cities, best school zones in the country,
Yeah.
I believe they lack resources.
Yeah.
Some of the best towns, schools, their student body count to teachers is like 30-1.
Yeah.
It's
Insane.
insane.
Yeah.
Insane. So when you're talking about maybe sending kids to like private school, helping them create an environment of learning, what type of educational path do you think our children should have and know early on for themselves?
Yeah, I even think it starts at home too. So one of the things that Jenny and I are gonna be implementing, we do this with each other right now, but then we're gonna have Kaizen sit on these as well, is we do weekly family boardroom meetings, right? So we go over, me and my wife, we obviously run different businesses, but we go over what we need in our business, what we need in ourselves and our relationship, right? And we go through our numbers. And I think it's so taboo. I look at like my parents, like they never shared it. They never shared anything like that. I don't know any of their numbers or anything like that, right? And I think in our culture, it's so taboo to talk about that kind of stuff. But I want to make it not taboo. I want to make it like very vulnerable, very authentic, very genuine. So, hey, sit on this meeting with us. So that's at home, right? And then what that should translate to is in school, same thing. Like, how are you going to translate that into your education and actual life after school as well? So kind of both ways, right? At school, what kind of education they're getting there, who they're surrounding themselves with, who's teaching them. Like we talked about that too. It's like our teachers are, unfortunately, they're paid poorly, right? I talk to teachers all the time where, we're working with the school right now actually, that they're like, we're paid to the pay. I'm barely making it, and you're the ones teaching our kids. Like, okay, well that's probably what's going to rub off. So can we surround them with, I guess, more abundant leaders that are teaching our next generation, and then two, at home, reinforcing that as well. Versus, hey, daddy's tired, go look at your iPad, or go watch this TV show. Like, okay, no, come sit with me on this meeting, right? Come chat with me. Like, you have this perfect opportunity. Why not take it, right? So.
Yeah, I also heard that statistically 90% of our child's development is by the age of 10. So many people think that sending their kids to private school, maybe at like middle school, high school, will prepare them for college, which based on studies and speaking to higher education professionals, it's actually the earlier years that are most crucial.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was talking to another parent. All three of our kids are in private school. We're blessed, and frankly, it's a matter of choice.
Yeah.
I think if I had to, I would borrow money, refinance my home to make sure I invest in our kids.
Yeah.
Because as I talk to some parents, they're like, well, the amount we're spending on private school, instead of spending that on their education, we can technically buy a real estate property every single year.
Yeah.
By the time they're 21 and maybe completion of school, we can give them 15, 20 properties.
Yeah.
Why would we even invest that much? And this is speaking to another parent where their child is in the same private school as my child, as he's starting to have doubt about it. So what I had to remind him was, do you think you work really hard? And he said, yes. I said, do you think you are spending enough time with your spouse and kids as much as you would like to? And he said, no. He wished he could spend more time with his kids. I said, although you are not able to spend the amount of time with your kids as much as you like to, would you like to put them in an environment where they can be nurtured and grow to the maximum potential?
Yeah.
And then he said, you're right. Although you could buy these real estate, but the fact that even if you give them these real estate, that won't help prepare them for life.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee says this. It doesn't matter. Don't give your kids the things you never had.
Yeah.
Teach them your kids the things you were never taught.
Yeah, I love that, because people so much talk about generational wealth. And to me, generational wealth isn't passing down assets, right? Like, you're right. I think the stats are like by third generation, it's all gone anyways, right?
90% is all gone.
Yeah, I think generational wealth is really this. It's like, how can you teach them how to do it, right? And for my kid, I'm telling him that he's not getting anything. We probably are going to give him some stuff, but he's not going to know that unless he watches this podcast episode, which we're not going to let him watch that.
Not at all.
Yeah, so, but that way it'll be like, okay, I don't have a safety net. I gotta go do it myself. I gotta earn it, but I'm gonna teach them how to do it,
Yep.
right? And I told them one thing, like Jenny and I, we buy all of our kids a property. We put a 20-year AM on it, right? So by the time they're 20 years old, they'll get this property, no matter what, right? And that's what they do know that they're gonna get. And so they can do multiple things with it. They can cash flow it, it'll be paid off, they can cash flow it, they can refinance it, they can live in it, they can sell it, right? They can do whatever they want, but that will give them everything that they will need to make a decision for themselves and see what they actually go do.
Creating that foundation that you know is enough, but also teaching them how they can continue to build on it, so that generational curse does not end in the third generation. It can continue and flow.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think people ask all the time, especially when they look at some families that started from the bottom, built it to the highest point. How do you teach grit to your next generation, especially when you can provide them so much resources that you may have?
I think it's allowing them to fail, right? And easier said than done, no matter what, right? Like I've sat there saying like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna allow my kid to fail. But now I see him, failing at some stuff. I'm like, oh, I want to go help him do stuff, right? Another mentor of ours told us like, hey, like instead of going and doing it, like if they ask you a question, you just ask them a question back. Okay, how would you solve that? Hey Dad, how do I do this? Well, I don't know, how would you do it? Right? Not just giving them the answer, because that's the easy way out, versus saying like, let me ask you a question back on that, and you try to figure it out, right? So I think it all starts at the habit forming aspect of it, right? So if that happens, then how do we create those habits at a younger age, right? How do we get them to problem solve? I think our society has a huge problem right now of the lack of self-starters and problem solvers. A lot of people, like you said, maybe it's our schooling system, whatever it is, but it's like they want and need other people to tell them what to do, versus like, oh, I know what to do. I'm just gonna figure it out, because you can. Nowadays we have so much information. We're in the information age nowadays, where I was talking to one of my older friends. He's like, who knows a lot of random stuff. I'm like, how do you know all this random stuff? He's like, dude, I was so curious. I would just go to libraries and I would look it up and read it. I had to walk 20 minutes to the library and read it when I was a kid. I was like, dang, that's some old school stuff right there.
Yeah.
Nowadays we have ChatGPT on our phone, we have the internet, we have Google, we have everything. We have too much information, right? Most people don't know what to believe now, right? So now it's like it's changed in mindset of like, okay, now I got to figure out and decipher from all the information what works well for me. But in my mind, I mean, I educate people a lot on stuff, but it's like, what I tell people is like, I'm not here to just tell you what to do. What I'm here to do is tell you how to make decisions for yourself, so that you know how to make the best decision for yourself, because the only person that can is you.
Yep. Agree. I was talking to a good friend who's in the depths of AI technology.
Yeah.
Some of the things that his company startup is doing will change the world. And as I was talking to him about my belief of AI, I truly believe AI will help many people, but it'll also fail majority of people. AI, as I was speaking to him, was meant to support us, but not problem solve completely for us.
Yeah.
Too many people right now are losing their ability of critical thinking.
Yeah.
I recently asked a mentee, hey, I want you to do this task. Then he had AI do the task.
Yeah.
Then I asked him, tell me what you learned from this experience.
Yeah.
He couldn't answer.
Yeah.
I said, well, and I knew he used AI because the response and the project was completed in almost a perfect manner. But then I asked him, tell me what you learned from this assignment. He couldn't answer. So I said, then all you're doing is completing the task, but you're not actually personally improving yourself to a way where you can now problem solve, critically think.
Yeah.
And that's why I believe the future generation, they have so much opportunity, resources to really change the world. But at the same time, if they don't know how to use it and they abuse it, they're going to be useless in this coming new modern world.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that?
Couldn't agree more, man. If they're using it for basically replacing them, then guess what? It will replace you.
That's right.
But if you're using it to enhance you, then I mean, we use AI in our business all the time. And
of course.
Awesome. I love it. I love it as a way to give me data so that I can still make the decisions, right? And bounce ideas off of. But really at the end of the day, I'm using it to make my team, myself more efficient.
Yes.
I think AI can get you 60% of the way there, and then you still need a human to do the last bit. But if you are relying on it to do 100% of your thing, I mean, it's funny. We give scholarships out for a nonprofit, right? But they have to apply, and they have to give us a whole business model and everything, right? And one application was just straight up from AI.
Yeah.
You could tell, right? And I was like, this is probably we're going to reject this application because, this person is obviously not doing the things that we want them to do, which is use it as a tool. And I tell them too, like, hey, we want you guys to use AI. We understand that AI is going to be part of our future no matter what.
Agree.
But don't use it 100%. Do it to get you 50 to 60% there, and then do the rest yourself and understand it yourself.
Yep.
Right. And so I agree with that. Some people, probably the majority of people, will be replaced by it, and that's because they're letting themselves be replaced by it versus using it as a enhancement of who you could be in to reach your full potential.
Yeah. Different generations, different struggles. When we were growing up, lack of information. No
Lack
internet.
of information, yeah.
Yeah,
Didn't have an iPhone,
Yeah, today, too much information.
Yeah.
We can't decipher what's real information, what's fake, and how to even critically problem solve.
Yeah.
100% agree.
Yeah, it's an epidemic now for sure.
Agree. Now let's talk about Zenkos University,
Yeah.
Zenkos Cares,
Yeah.
Zenkos Homes.
Yeah.
Your business isn't just one line. There's multiple lines.
Yeah.
Tell the viewers more about what you're doing, your company,
Yeah.
your mission, your values.
Yeah.
Love everything you're doing. We share so many similarities in our purpose and our passion in life.
Yeah.
Tell us more.
Yeah. So I would say our motto is people, right? No matter what. What I mean by that is we've gone to a stage in our life where we only want to be surrounded with just good, genuine, authentic human beings, right? But we want to empower people, right? That's always been the core of all of our businesses. So what that means is, every business line, has a statement of okay, for example, for our Zenkos University, that's our coaching business. We want to help empower people create passive income and financial abundance so that they can go out and create massive impact, right? So, hey, can I get someone like a Rick to be passively or have so much passive income that they don't have to work if they don't want to? Then they can focus on starting a nonprofit or doing healing work or whatever it is that they want to do, right? That's going to make a bigger difference in the world, right? Our Zenkos Capital Group, which is our investment arm, that runs all of our acquisitions. We have an in-house management, property management team there. Our operations, asset management, things like that. Same thing. We want to give people opportunities. So, for example, people that are too busy, maybe they're doctors or that make a good income, but they don't know where to put their money, right? Okay, cool. Well, we're gonna help you grow that, through investing with real estate and give you that tax advantage as well, right?
That's
so
great.
that you can focus on doing what you do best and saving lives as a doctor, right?
Yep.
Zenkos Cares is our straight up impact arm, right? That is our nonprofit that we go help middle schoolers and high schoolers with financial literacy. Go to those schools, spend our time, with them in depth, right? And teach them all these concepts that I know their teachers are not, because I've talked to them, right?
Yep.
And then empower the ones that can't afford to take that next level of education and give them scholarships. And then Jenny's, my wife's business is Zenkos Homes, which is her real estate team, right? And so for that business is, how can we get good families and good homes where they can create lasting generational, not wealth, but also memories, because that's really what's important in life is family.
Great. And what made you decide to build all these different divisions? And as I think about it, most people, statistically, 10% of businesses make it to the fifth year, 90% don't.
Yeah.
For you to develop just not only one successful company, but multiple divisions that support one another.
Yeah.
What drives that?
Yeah, well, I think it goes back to the people aspect. I've loved just working with people, right? And they're all vertically integrated because they all talk to each other in a way, right? Like the reason why we even started Zenkos University and helping people learn how to do real estate investing is that, honestly, selfishly, it's a way for us to scout and recruit people too. Of okay, who's actually serious about this? Who can actually execute? Who's a self-starter? Who knows how to use AI and all that stuff to their advantage? And who is a good culture fit? Okay, let's bring them actually up and intern at our Zenkos Capital Group and let them shadow all of our business units, right? And see if they want to, if that's something that fits into their superpower as well. And then we bring them on board, right? Like I've got my acquisitions manager, right, from my Zenkos University, right? Same my director of operations, right? Because we just, what better way to recruit someone versus the way that I've already taught them how to do it my way, right? And they've already learned that, and now they just come in and are already part of our culture. Right? So it just makes it a lot easier when you can just build businesses with good human beings that understand your mission, your ethics, your ethos of who you are, and they share that same thing, right? And then it just grows faster that way.
Agree. And you talk a lot about, having good mentors, having good coaches.
Yeah.
And especially when you started your journey in real estate, too many people, when they start something, they try to do it themselves. And I think that's more common than not.
Yeah.
What gave you the courage to invest in mentorship coaching? And today you're giving back by creating these universities and helping people that were in the same place you and Jenny were many years ago to thrive and succeed like you guys are today.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you a story. I mean, shout out to Jenny here again, but we were 21 and 22 at that point. We heard a radio ad that was like, hey, you want to get into real estate investing? come to our seminar. I'm like, okay, yeah, sounds good. And I'm 22 years old, living in the city, right?
Instead
And
of going to a movie for a date, you guys are going to like a real estate seminar.
well,
Yeah.
to an
It's pretty
extent,
cool.
right?
Yeah.
Like I would say that more Jenny so at this point than I was. She was way more mature. She had you as a mentor, right? So, she was really a lot ahead in that mindset piece than I was. And I remember she kind of tricked me. I went out. I was like, hey, I'm not gonna go Saturday. I'm gonna go out drinking with my friends, right, and partying. And then she tricked me. She's like, hey, Calvin, on Sunday, she's like, hey, can you come pick me up? I didn't bring my car. I'm like hungover. I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll come grab you. And I walk into the room and everyone's jumping around, high fiving each other. And I was like, Jenny, we can't join this cult. And she's like, I already did, right? And at this point, we had like, I don't know, like $5,000 in the bank account. This is a $30,000 program, max out the credit cards kind of thing. And we were in it. And we're like, crap, we actually got to go do this then, right? And we saw that work, right? And then, other mentors that always told us, like, you want to invest 10% into yourself. This is your best asset, is your mind, to what you want to make, right? So every year we've done that. Like last year, I think we invested like 250 grand in ourselves, right? But we both did Tony Robbins Platinum partnerships. We had two other mentors. Another mentor owns a private island, right, kind of thing. And it's like, okay, who do we want to be in 10 years or 5 years? Okay, who are mentors that we can get to be around those people? And to be honest, those have also not just mentored us on mindset and tacticals and things like that, but it's opened doors. I mean, at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're buying mentorships. What you're doing is you're opening doors for yourself, right? You're a mentor of ours. You've opened a lot of doors for us as well, and I appreciate that, right? And for our mentees, same thing. We've opened a lot of doors for people as well that they would just never had access to. Because this game of life, this game of business and investing, it's all about who you know.
Relationships.
It still is. And
So important.
yeah, you can talk, and people always say like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna post on social media and I'm gonna get a bunch of followers. And that's not how it works though. Like, deals in my profession, in multifamily real estate development, are so done on phone calls, shaking hands, back of the napkin. Like, who do you know? Like, they're not on MLS, they're not on LoopNet or CrackState or anything like that. It's all about, hey, cool, I send you this deal. I got 3 deals that we're looking at right now that are all exclusive just to us. He's like, hey, I'm gonna let you guys do the first look. You guys let me know before I even talk to any of my other investors. That's the relationships you want. And that's where all the good deals happen, not on the MLSs or the LoopNets of the world.
Yep. Genuine relationships, and I think who you surround yourself, the community, really changes our lives.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, who you're with. That's all it is. And that's such an easy concept that people just don't get, because they say like, oh, I'm just going to be the next influencer, right? And just post cool stuff. And that's how I'm a community. My biggest theme actually this year is depth, right? It's not about how many people you know, it's about knowing the right people and creating depth with those people.
Wow. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Yeah. So let's talk about the future, the vision. I know you not only ambitious and abundant. Tell me what the vision looks like for you, Jenny, your family. Tell us more.
Yeah. So right now in the season, I'm 33 years old right now. I don't think by 35, I'm not gonna really do much anymore. I mean, right now, in my Zenco's Capital Group, I probably spend about 2 hours a week on operations, so managing about 1,100 units there, and then I spend maybe like 6 to 8 hours a week on acquisition stuff, right? And I want to dial that back more and more. And then our coaching business, I probably do like 10 to 15 hours a week. So right now I'm like 25 to 30 hours a week in that range. And I want to bring that down to like 10 to 15 hours. And really, Jenny and I, our focus in the future is back to the education piece. Like, our kid is 7 months old right now. I don't see a path where the school systems around us, even the private schools, are like really what we want him to really learn.
Yeah.
Right. And so what we're kind of mentioning earlier to you is like, we want to start a school, next few years. By the time he's in first grade, like, we want to have a private, like, I guess, boutique school, right? Where we're teaching kids how to become business owners and entrepreneurs and look at P&Ls and have social skills and learn how to, read emotional intelligence with people, right? And communication, right? Things like that. And so, it's not cheap to run these schools, right? So we're looking to, buy the real estate because we're real estate people, right? And then find the people that can actually like teach those things that they're passionate about as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of the next 2 to 5 year plan is, getting the groundwork ready for that. And, really that means, making our businesses even more passive than they are right now, and, hiring the right operators, of course, so that we can focus more time on the next season of life, which is that.
You're a busy man. I know there's so many people that are watching definitely want to get in touch with you, what's the best way, Calvin, to reach out to you,
Yeah.
get to know you, learn more about everything you're doing?
Yeah.
How do we stay connected?
Yeah, the easiest way is just go on Instagram, Calvin Chin, CHIN, and REI on Instagram. You can connect with me there, DM me. You can see all our different business units on there too, and all the websites from there too.
Yeah.
So.
Amazing. As I promised, another incredible episode of Unleash Mindset. Every time we bring successful entrepreneurs that not only inspire us, but they can help share their journey, lessons learned, and change our lives. So Calvin, thank you for being here. Appreciate you, brother. Known you for a decade and can't wait to not only watch everything you believe in come to fruition, but have our children grow up and create that next generation of leaders and impact makers.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Good stuff.